For decades, she was one of Hollywood's most beloved faces, the kind of actress whose presence could light up a room before she even spoke a word. She wasn't just another starlet on the screen. She was a symbol of grace, beauty, and quiet strength. Audiences adored her, critics praised her, and directors fought to cast her. Yet, at the height of her fame, when the world expected her to soar even higher, she suddenly disappeared. No public farewell, no scandalous headlines, just silence. And for over 31 years, fans have wondered what really happened to her. Rumors swirled for decades. Some said she retired due to health issues. Others whispered about a secret heartbreak or a deep disillusionment with Hollywood's darker side. But the real story is far more emotional than anyone ever imagined. Behind the cameras, she was fighting a battle that no one could see, one that changed the course of her life forever. Now, after more than 3 decades of silence, the truth about her departure is finally coming to light. What drove her to walk away from fame, fortune, and a glittering career that millions could only dream of? Why did one of Hollywood's brightest lights choose a life of quiet obscurity? It's a story filled with heartbreak, courage, and redemption. A story that proves sometimes leaving the spotlight isn't the end of a career. It's the beginning of peace. She didn't plan on becoming a star. In fact, her journey to Hollywood was almost accidental, the result of a series of unexpected opportunities that led her from small-town dreams to international fame. Born in a modest neighborhood, she never imagined her life would one day involve red carpets, flashbulbs, and adoring fans chanting her name. Yet it was her undeniable charm and natural talent that caught the eye of a local photographer, who encouraged her to audition for a small television role. That one appearance was all it took. Producers noticed her immediately, and before she knew it, her career was launched into the stratosphere. By the early 1980s, she had become one of Hollywood's most in-demand actresses. Directors admired her emotional range. Audiences couldn't get enough of her sincerity and warmth. Whether she played the sweet girl next door or the strong woman defying all odds, she did it with such honesty that people felt like they truly knew her. She wasn't just an actress. She was a reflection of her generation's hopes and struggles. Every film she touched seemed to turn into a box office success. But fame, as many before her discovered, came with its own price. Behind the perfect smile and glamorous lifestyle, she struggled with the weight of constant scrutiny. The paparazzi followed her everywhere, turning even her most private moments into tabloid headlines. Friends noticed the shift in her demeanor. The once carefree woman had become cautious, guarded, and withdrawn. She began canceling interviews, avoiding parties, and turning down roles that could have easily cemented her legacy. It wasn't that she stopped loving acting. It was that Hollywood stopped feeling like home. She often described the film industry as a beautiful dream with a dark shadow, hinting that something beneath the surface was draining her spirit. Rumors began to spread that she was tired of the industry's double standards, the endless expectations placed on women to remain youthful, flawless, and compliant. In a world where one wrinkle could end a career, she felt the walls closing in. At the same time, she was facing deeply personal struggles. A long-term relationship that once seemed unbreakable began to crumble under the weight of fame. Her partner, also an actor, couldn't handle living in her shadow. The tabloids called it a classic Hollywood love story gone wrong, but for her, it was more than just heartbreak. It was the moment she began questioning everything she had sacrificed for her. Career friends later revealed that she started talking about disappearing, not in a dramatic way, but as a form of peace. She longed to return to the simple life she once knew, before fame consumed her identity. Around 1994, after one final film that critics praised but she felt detached from, she quietly walked away. No farewell press tour, no public statement, just a quiet exit from a world that had both made and broken her. Her disappearance shocked everyone. Producers sent scripts that were returned unopened, agents called and received no reply. Fans flooded magazines and TV shows with letters asking, "Where did she go?" But she was already gone. Not lost, just choosing silence over chaos. Little did the world know her choice wasn't about quitting. It was about survival. And in the years to come, the truth about why she left Hollywood would reveal a woman stronger, wiser, and more at peace than anyone imagined. When she vanished from Hollywood, it wasn't into some mysterious darkness. It was into peace. After decades of chaos, she finally found the quiet she had been yearning for. The actress who once lived surrounded by flashing cameras now lived in a small coastal town, where the only light that followed her came from the sunrise over the ocean. Locals barely recognized her at first. Gone were the glamorous clothes, the styled hair, the makeup that once defined her screen image. Instead, she wore simple jeans, wide-brimmed hats, and a calm smile that seemed to say she had finally found her place. She bought a small cottage, started gardening, and began painting, something she hadn't done since childhood. To her, it wasn't about escaping fame completely. It was about reclaiming her identity. For the first time in years, she didn't have to pretend to be anyone else. There were no scripts, no directors, no critics, just life in its purest form. Neighbors described her as kind, soft-spoken, and always willing to lend a hand. Few realized they were talking to someone who had once graced magazine covers around the world. Her departure from Hollywood wasn't just emotional, it was also a statement. She had grown weary of the way the industry treated its stars, especially women. She once said in a rare interview years later, "Hollywood doesn't retire you, it consumes you. I just chose to walk away before it did." Those words reflected the exhaustion and disillusionment that had built up inside her. She had seen too many peers fall victim to fame's unforgiving nature, depression, addiction, loneliness. She refused to become another casualty. In the mid-2000s, a journalist tracked her down for a magazine feature titled "The Star Who Walked Away." At first, she declined. But eventually, she agreed. On one condition, the story had to focus on her new life, not her past fame. During the interview, she spoke openly about what happiness meant to her now. "It's funny," she said. "When I was famous, I had everything people dream of: money, beauty, success. But I didn't have peace. Now I have peace, and that's worth everything." Her words resonated deeply with fans who had grown up watching her films. For them, she had always been a symbol of elegance and sincerity. Now she became a symbol of courage. She represented the rare Hollywood story where the star got out before the spotlight destroyed them. But life outside the public eye wasn't entirely without struggle. Though she had found serenity, the transition wasn't easy. For years, she wrestled with feelings of guilt and doubt. Had she let her fans down? Could she ever return if she wanted to? There were moments when she missed the thrill of performing, the energy of being on set, and the bond she shared with her co-stars. Yet every time she thought about coming back, the anxiety returned. The fear of being judged, of being compared to her younger self, of facing an industry obsessed with youth and perfection. To cope, she immersed herself in charity work. She began volunteering at a local animal shelter and later helped fund programs for struggling single mothers. The woman once celebrated for her beauty was now using her heart to make a difference. Friends said she found fulfillment not in applause but in gratitude, the quiet kind that comes from helping others. For years, rumors swirled that she might stage a comeback. Directors sent her offers for supporting roles, biopics, even TV cameos. But she politely turned them all down. "I've told all the stories I needed to tell," she once said. "Now I just want to live mine." To the public, she had become a mystery. To herself, she had finally become real. As the years passed, people continued to wonder, what truly made her walk away from everything she had built? Many assumed it was burnout or perhaps the pressure of fame. But the truth, when it finally surfaced, was far deeper and far more heartbreaking than anyone had imagined. Behind her radiant smile and effortless grace, she had carried a quiet pain for much of her career. Few knew that during her final years in Hollywood, she was secretly battling both emotional and physical exhaustion. Long hours on set, relentless media scrutiny, and constant pressure to maintain a flawless image had pushed her to her breaking point. But what truly shattered her spirit was betrayal, not from the industry, but from the people she trusted most. Her manager, who had been with her since the early days, had been quietly taking advantage of her success. Financial mismanagement, hidden contracts, and unapproved deals left her on the brink of losing nearly everything she had worked for. When she discovered the truth, it wasn't just about the money, it was about trust. The betrayal cut so deep that it changed how she viewed everyone around her. "I stopped knowing who was with me for me," she once confided to a close friend, "and who was there for what I could give them." Around the same time, her health began to decline. Years of stress had taken their toll, leading to fatigue and recurring anxiety. Doctors advised her to rest, but Hollywood doesn't wait for anyone. She tried to keep going, but her heart wasn't in it anymore. Acting, once her passion and escape, had become a source of pain. When she filmed her last movie, insiders said she often retreated to her trailer between scenes, sitting in silence for hours. The spark that once defined her was fading. Adding to her struggles was the painful end of a relationship that had once been the anchor in her chaotic world. Her partner's growing resentment toward her fame led to endless arguments, and when it finally ended, she was left feeling completely alone. She realized that everything she thought would make her happy, the career, the love, the fame, had become a source of emptiness. That was when she made her decision. She wouldn't let the industry destroy what was left of her soul. She quietly sold her Los Angeles home, fired her entire management team, and vanished. Even her closest colleagues didn't know where she went. For a while, there were rumors she had left the country, maybe moved to Europe, or joined a retreat somewhere in Asia. In truth, she was simply living quietly by the sea, trying to rediscover the person she had been before fame. Years later, during a brief interview for a film retrospective, she hinted at the pain she endured. "You can't imagine what it's like to lose yourself in your own story," she said softly. "Hollywood can give you everything, and take everything just as fast." Those who watched the interview said she looked peaceful but carried a certain sadness in her eyes, the kind that comes from knowing too much. About the cost of dreams, her story became something of a legend in Hollywood. Circles, the star who walked away before she broke. Younger actors admired her courage, while older ones quietly envied her freedom. For her, it wasn't about being brave. It was about survival. She had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and exhaustion, and through it all, she found a kind of strength that no award or fame could ever give. But as time went on, a new chapter was about to begin, one that would prove that her story wasn't over, and that sometimes walking away doesn't mean disappearing forever. Years later, when she was well into her 60s, the world finally caught a glimpse of her again. Not on a red carpet, not in a magazine spread, but in a quiet, heartfelt documentary about classic Hollywood stars. She appeared briefly, her hair streaked with silver, her voice soft but steady. The years had changed her face, but her presence still carried that same calm beauty that had once captured the hearts of millions. For fans, seeing her again was an emotional moment. It was as if a missing piece of Hollywood history had finally been returned. She spoke gently about her past, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. "I don't regret walking away," she said. "I just wish I had learned earlier that happiness isn't found in applause." It was clear she had made peace with her decision. She no longer viewed her exit from Hollywood as a loss. It was a rebirth. Her life now revolved around the things that truly mattered: family, nature, creativity, and peace. Those who visited her in her later years said her home was filled with art, paintings, photographs, and handwritten journals that told the story of her journey from fame to freedom. She had transformed her pain into expression, her silence into serenity. "She's never looked happier," one friend said in an interview. "She smiles with her whole heart now, not just for the cameras, but even in her tranquility, her legacy continued to grow. Younger generations began rediscovering her films, sharing clips and interviews on social media. Her performances, once viewed as products of their time, were now celebrated for their timeless emotion and authenticity. Film critics praised her work with a new appreciation, calling her a pioneer of naturalism before the industry even knew what that meant. She became a symbol of integrity, proof that walking away from fame doesn't mean fading into irrelevance. Despite her desire for privacy, she never completely shut the world out. Every few years, she would write open letters or record short messages for fans. In one of them, she wrote, "I never left because I stopped loving acting. I left because I started loving myself." Those words spread across the internet, resonating deeply with people who had once struggled to choose between ambition and peace. In her final public appearance, she attended a film festival where her most iconic movie was being restored and re-released. When she walked onto the stage, the audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. For a moment, she seemed overwhelmed. Tears welled in her eyes as she smiled at the crowd. "You waited for me," she whispered, her voice breaking. It was a full-circle moment. The world that once took so much from her now offered her the love and respect she always deserved. After that night, she quietly returned to her peaceful life by the sea, surrounded by the things she cherished most. Her story, once marked by pain and loss, had transformed into one of strength and self-discovery. She became a living reminder that true success isn't about staying in the spotlight. It's about knowing when to walk away from it. When she eventually passed away years later, tributes poured in from around the world. Fellow actors, directors, and fans all spoke of her grace, her honesty, and the courage it took to choose herself over fame. "She didn't disappear," one actor said at her memorial. "She just finally found a place where she could truly live." Her story remains one of the most touching in Hollywood history, a tale of a woman who dared to step out of the spotlight, not because she failed, but because she knew her worth. And in doing so, she left behind a legacy far greater than fame. She left behind peace, truth, and a lesson that will never be forgotten.